Well, let's talk about that a bit more with Mona Sinha, the Global Executive Director at Equality Now, who joins us now from London. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us today on the program. Firstly,
Thank you.
describe to us your role at Equality Now and the work you do to advocate for gender inequality, gender equality rather.
Thanks so much. We are a global human rights organization that advocates for changes in the law to protect the rights of women and girls across the world. We have existed for about 33 years, and we've changed close to 100 laws across the world.
Now, it's often, women in disadvantaged situations who are most in need of international attention, but are very often left to fend for themselves, aren't they? I mean, the International Women's Day obviously comes around every year, but how do we move beyond the symbolic gestures?
Well, we know change is possible. For us, legal change is foundational. And in 1995, it was very significant that 189 countries came together to sign the UN's Beijing Platform for Gender Equality. That signified a really big shift in the world's recognition that women matter. And we've seen a lot of progress to date. 60 countries have liberalized abortion laws. Uzbekistan just recently adopted a law against gender-based violence. Child marriage has been recognized as a human rights abuse, and we've recently seen Colombia, Zambia, Sierra Leone overturn these laws. So we've made a lot of progress, and I think that women leaders in the grassroots and women leaders who are making change are really being recognized as the true shifts in our economy and in creating equality.
Now, legal and systemic change is needed when it comes to, violence and discrimination against women. So how do we begin to stand up against that repressive system and sustain that fight, so to speak?
Well, we still have a lot of work to do, right? I mean, we're seeing what's going on in Afghanistan, where women have been basically banned from public and civil society. We've seen what's happening in India and the Bahamas, Kuwait, Libya, where marital rape is still permitted. We know the problem with inheritance laws and where women are discriminated from birth. And look what's happening in Iran today, where they had a very good law with child marriage, the minimum age being 18, which is now being pushed back to 9. I mean, what does it really mean for a 9-year-old to be married and systemically raped every day, let alone have children? So the good news is that these pushbacks and rollbacks are coming because we have gained significant attention and because we have made a dent. Legal change is possible. We've seen that gender equality is a multiplier effect on many parts of our society, on our economy, on politics, and laws that promote gender equality are actually better for a healthier society. There's a lot of work for us to be done, but we can't forget today, especially, that women and men who have been strong allies have come a long way since Beijing and even before then, and that work has to continue.
Has to continue indeed. Now, we've been talking a lot in recent years about, how digital tools can be a force for change. But as the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has also said, they can also be often used to silence female voices and amplify discrimination. Do you have examples of this, perhaps, and how can we, take that in the right direction?
So digital rights must be protected just as any other rights. And we at Equality Now have seen that even in the digital space, there are violations where women are being harassed, especially women politicians. Women are being pushed back. There is a lot of misogyny that is seen online. And the role for us right now is to mainstream equal rights, not misogyny, which is what's happening in the world. So, first of all, we need to get the governance around the digital space corrected and made sure. We were critical in passing the Global Digital Compact earlier this year at the UN. So, this gives us a document that worldwide organizations and countries can sign on to. So, it at least gives us a framework. Um, and we know that the digital space can be used also for good because we've seen how youth uprisings have helped the cause of gender equality in the digital space. We have to learn how to use social media to help and amplify our causes. So it can be a great amplifier and a force for good, but we have to make sure that there are governance and guardrails around so women feel protected as well. There's also the issue of access because there's still thousands of women across the world that don't have access to digital tools, which holds them back from economic participation and also connecting with other women around the globe.
And just lastly, if you will, there are numerous projects, initiatives, and grassroots movements to elevate women's role in society, which is along the lines of the very important work that you do yourself. But how do these materialize in the real world, and how can we take part?
It materializes in many ways. Equality now works in coalitions across the world, and that is our secret strength because we're a small organization of 90 plus people, but we have boots on the ground for thousands and thousands of women's organizations and men who join us in these coalitions for gender rights. And the coalitions advocate for the causes that are particular to them. Because while we can bring a global perspective on legal change, those laws have to be upheld in each country, as you know. So when we advocate for those laws and we teach and help these coalitions get stronger, develop a voice, develop a platform, that is what pushes for change at the policy level. We also work with governments, by the way. Not all governments are terrible. Governments are elected by the people and function democratically in most well-functioning democracies. And so we do work with them to help them understand the impact of some of these issues.
Mona Sinha, the Global Executive Director at Equality Now, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us today on France 24.
Thank you very much and happy International Women's Day.